today is whether the conclusion is feasible. Following in the wake of the 2013 Barometer came the Joy FM expose of corrupt practices in the operations of the Ghana Youth Employment and Entrepreneurial Development Agency, GIDA. So what exactly makes it so difficult to kick out corruption in Ghana? Can we ever eliminate corruption? What are the drivers of corruption in the Ghana society? Investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri Awini is in the studio with me to throw light onto his work at GIDA. Linda Ofori Kwafo from the Ghana Integrity Initiative is also here. Welcome, gentlemen and lady, to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Manasseh, I'll start with you. I mean, with GIDA, you're probably immune now to corruption, but is there anything you found in GIDA that shocked you?
Well, as you rightly stated, for now nothing shocks me again because I've heard a lot and I've seen a lot. But what actually shocked me when I started this is how some people managed to penetrate the system. When you talk about the GIDA system, if you go to the head office and you speak to them, what they tell you is that no official of GIDA can take money meant for beneficiaries. That is what they will tell you. And the system works in such a way that when beneficiaries are to be paid, the monies are paid directly into their accounts. Each beneficiary has a bank account, and so when you are to be paid, your account is open and then you are credited. And so you go to the bank with your details and then pick your money. But that is not what actually happens. Some people go and open different accounts, and I came across one such account at the Okonfa-Anokye Rural Bank in the Ashanti region, especially Agona area, Secretary West and Secretary South. These two, Secretary East and Secretary West, these two districts had different accounts opened, not accounts that are not sanctioned by GIDA. And so you have the National Youth Employment Program, and then officials went and opened another account, and they named this particular account Nation Youth Employment Program. And what was a bit curious was the fact that the bank was dealing with the NYEP, as it was then called, but apparently nothing perhaps break them to get to know or even come out to question the name. So at the end of the day, monies are paid into this particular account, which is illegal, and then certain individuals within GIDA then go and get that money withdrawn. And what was actually done was to forge the signature of the national coordinator. And so the account, which is Nation Youth Employment Program, is illegal. Then in order to get it, what they did was to write a letter asking that those monies be brought back to the national chest. And so it appeared as though the national coordinator wrote that letter. And there was a collaboration right from the head office. We had officials there. Right from getting to the regional head office, there were officials there, and then to the district. And so it is a whole network of officials. And another thing that also surprised me a bit was when that particular transaction took place and then the issue came up, 3 different committees were set up, including a National Security Committee. None of these 3 committees set these people free, but they are free, and they still take salary, and some use state vehicles and sleep in state bungalows. And as we speak, the 4th committee has just come out with its own findings, and these persons are among those who have been indicted in this particular report that the ministerial committee has just released. Now the committee says the people should be referred to the Attorney General for prosecution. But I also happened to get a copy of the National Security Report, which actually did another comprehensive job. And when you read this particular National Security Report, what it suggests is that the people should be made to refund the money with interest before even a prosecution. And so when you look at these recommendations here, it's the same people, but it's a bit slightly different. And this is not all. With the current report, another issue also came up. about a lady who is purported to have taken bribe from a service provider. You know, we have companies that perform various duties and run some of the models. And so the report says this lady actually went to a service provider called a Gollywood Academy. There's this youth in filmmaking, which is a model and a JIDA. And so what happens is that they designate some of the officials of JIDA, management members, to foresee the implementation of these programs. And so they call them model coordinators. And so this lady happened to be a model coordinator, and she is said to have gone to this service provider to demand a bribe of 52,000 Ghana cedis. And she was given, per the report. Later she went again from our sources, and then there was a confusion because the man was not willing to pay a second one. And so issues came up, and from our sources, it ended up at the airport police station because she alleged the man wanted to kill her. So these are some of the issues, and it will appear the systems are there, but people are still able to penetrate. And if you look at the report that is coming out, you would realize a lot of things are not in place, and the report has a lot of recommendations to seal these loopholes and actually make JIDA work.
I mean, I haven't seen the full report. I've heard snippets of it, but are we going to get into a proper culture of, you know, snipping from the top, or are we going to still snip from the bottom as we always do? Because you tend to find out that anytime these stories come out, you know, the security men, you know, the coordinator this, the coordinator that, but the proper, you know, guys on the top always seem to remain. You know, I don't know what you've got an insight, but are the guys on the top, you know, going to be penalized?
Well, I don't know how you define the top, but we have officials from the head office, national headquarters. I told you some of them were part of the syndicate as this particular national security report, and then the other reports that has just come out revealed. We have people from the head office. Yet again, the report also makes mention of even the minister at that time, Honorable Clement Kofi Humado, the national coordinator. He has just left, and then he's now in Parliament. Honorable Abuga Pele, and then the chief director of the ministry. The report says they have serious questions to answer, but it has not stated specifically, as in the case of those who went in for these monies, that they should be prosecuted. For what I have seen, that is not specific, but it has mentioned that these officials have questions to answer for. There are rules in some of the contracts. And I must also say a lot of the contracts, as our investigations revealed, and which has been corroborated by this report, actually cost the nation so much. Because for some of them, each month the nation was losing not less than 10 million Ghana cedis. That's one contract. And there were letters to the effect that those contracts were not, the contractors or the companies were not performing, and that the contract should be cancelled, but that never happened. And so these are some of the issues which those at the top, if you like it, the minister, the chief director, and the national coordinator at the time, these are the issues that the committee says they should answer questions on. That aside, there are also some of the companies or service providers whose contracts have been cancelled. And so we have Zoomline, we have Better Ghana Management Services, we have Goodwill International Group, we have the Zira Group of companies. They run a lot of models. And some of these models, according to the committee, there's no value for money. The nation just loses a lot of money. So the committee...
With Goodwill is supposed to pay back $2 million for services they never provided.
Yes, $2 million for services they never provided. This service was supposed to have been to facilitate JIDA in securing a grant, something like credit from the World Bank, 65 million. And as we speak, I spoke to officials of World Bank, and they are saying they are, even at the preparatory stage, they are now doing appraisal. But they have gone ahead to pay this amount. And they are not the only people who are supposed to refund money. Zoomline, for instance, is to refund 74.2 million Ghana cedis. The Agams Group, that's RLG Communications, Craft Pro, Asungtaba Cottage Industry and Exchange Program. They are to refund 55.5 million Ghana cedis, and the company called Better Ghana Management Service is also to refund about 67.1 million Ghana cedis. If you add all, we have these companies having to refund about 203 million Ghana cedis. And the reason for them refunding these monies are this: one, some were paid the monies, they didn't render the services. Two, some overcharged, and so they had to pay back. And if you look at the Agams Group, for instance, part of their contract, they had interest-free loan component, and they were supposed to have paid, and so they haven't paid. And so that's what has amounted to this. And so these companies are supposed to pay back these monies as the recommendations of the committee suggest.
Linda, it sounds like a story, like a fiction. And, you know, gone are the days when million was 100 cities. Now million is a million.
A million.
Million is a million.
Yes.
I mean, it's, maybe I should say alleged or whatever it is, but impunity, isn't it? I mean, considering at the time when, you know, we're going to, you know, government is increasing taxes on even basic things that the ordinary guy will use just to recoup. And some of the monies they are looking for is 46 million and 30 million. And so for that matter, they will tax condoms and machetes and outboard motors, admittedly, you know, luxury outboard motors and not the ones for fishermen. But, you know, if you had 200 million cedis being siphoned away and you're looking for 30 million cedis, I don't know what to ask, but the impunity is, where do we get that impunity to siphon such money, you know, in the face, you know, of all this?
Thank you very much. I must say that the question you asked Manasseh earlier on, that's whether he's surprised. I was expecting to ask him the same question. I would have said you are not surprised at all. This is what we call institutionalized corruption, from the top to the down. Everybody is corrupt. That's how come when government said that we are going to restructure JIDA, obviously every businessman will restructure an organization that is dying or dead. Because the moment the focus shifts, they are not actually doing what they are supposed to do to help young graduates to acquire some skills. Restructuring is the obvious thing to do. So we are more interested in implementation of the recommendations. That is what we are looking at to the fullest, so that at the end of the day, not only the small fishes will be punished, but the big fishes who have the power to institutionalize corruption should be punished. I'm happy the report is talking about asset recovery. You know, we have what we call the Global Corruption, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which is a global document trying to solve a global problem of corruption in all the world. And asset recovery is one of the most important sections of the UNCAC. How to retrieve those monies before those who have to go to jail go to jail. We shouldn't continue to let people go unpunished. If it happens, corruption will still continue in this country. When we conducted the Global Corruption Barometer survey and launched a report, I think on the 9th of July, in Ghana here, most people are saying that they've lost confidence in the government's ability to effectively deal with corruption in the public sector. So citizens are watching. Beneficiaries of JIDA are watching. And we are thinking that this is a window of opportunity for government to show some commitment. Government said it's studying the report, and we think this studying is taking too long. Government should fast-track the implementation of recommendations of JIDA. Because when we talk about impunity, it's one of the main reasons why corruption is still going on seriously in this country. The Global Corruption Report talk about bribery is a serious problem around the world. And even here in Ghana, institutions that you mentioned, police service, judiciary, the political parties, politicians, the NGOs, the media, everybody is engaging in one kind of corruption or the other because people go unpunished. So then if people are planning to engage in corruption in other sectors and they see not much is being done about this JIDA case, then they are like, oh, we can continue engaging in corruption. This morning I heard, I think, on your media network, I think Joy FM News, when we were talking about the fact that the finance officer or something is unqualified, that is how come these things. Who put him there? How did he get there? When we talk about corruption, we talk about nepotism. If you are bringing a family member to work in an organization, if he's qualified and is competing with other people, bingo. But if he doesn't qualify and you hold him by the hand and put him there because a family member, it is a vicious cycle. It goes back and he actually perpetuates corruption where he finds himself. Because one is not qualified. Two, he is there because you have put him there. Nobody talks about him. He is the big man's nephew, big man's son. And the poor people who are supposed to be getting some skills from these JIDA projects are not getting it because somebody is actually siphoning these resources. So people are engaging in corruption with all sort of impunity because they have seen that public officials who engage in corruption are not punished. And normally we are dealing with the small people, as you said.
This guy is accused as not being able to write a financial statement. I mean, I can write a financial statement, but clearly if I have to pay you $2 million because you're going to give me a service, just show me the service and I'll give you the money. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if that's where I can understand it. I mean, you're paying for a service. So you see the service and then you pay for it. But to tell me that you can't write a financial statement, so you don't even know whether you've gotten the service or not, I don't know if it's a good enough excuse, Manasseh.
Well, the facts go beyond this particular individual, and when we're even doing our investigations, we realized that the JIDA paid monies to certain service providers, and they were supposed to have given them people to train. For instance, in the case of RLG, they signed a contract with RLG, that is in 2012, last year, and they were supposed to train 30,000 youth in ICT and mobile phone repairs. And they were supposed to train 15,000 this year and then 15,000 next year. As we speak, JIDA has paid the amount for this year, that's 25.5 million Ghana cedis. The full amount for the training, full cost for that particular training for this year. And they paid the money as far back as, I think, November last year. But as we speak, they were only able to provide 4,222 members, not even half of the 15,000.
And the contract specifically says whether you provide the guys or not, the money is not refundable.
Yeah, the money, the contract did not say that, but the money had been paid. As of the time we went to do the investigation, we realized the money had been paid long time, and these people are supposed to train 15,000 and not 4,000. And so we asked the service providers, why are you training 4,000 instead of 15,000? And the response was that JIDA has not provided us. They provided it with only 4,000. That's what we are training. Two, there were other instances where service providers themselves were paid monies for certain models, but they did not know they were paid. So you go to ask the service provider, why are you not implementing this model? They tell you, well, we are not doing it because JIDA is supposed to give us this money to implement it. Then I produced a receipt. On this date, you were giving this amount of money for this particular program. Okay, let me check. They go into their accounts. Okay, the check number is the same as you have it. But because of the mix-up, we are running other programs. So we actually did not know that this money was meant for this project. And so when you go into JIDA and then you know how the system operates, you realize that there are so many lapses that at the end of the day, it is very difficult to hold one person accountable. Sometimes the service providers don't even know what money they are paid for. And sometimes people within JIDA cannot also even provide you with a list. I remember at a point in time, I tried getting a list of beneficiaries for certain projects, and they would tell you the service providers, they even have the accurate data. And so if I'm a service provider and I would want to maybe shortchange you, it is easy to do it because I seem to have control over the people. I have the list, and that control mechanism is not properly in place, as we find in our own investigations and also details of the reports emerging from this committee's work.
Well, I'm talking to Manasseh Azuri-Awini and Linda Ofori-Kwafo on corruption in Ghana. Stay tuned, and I'm coming straight back. Well, hello and welcome back. According to this corruption indicator or this corruption barometer, the police are number one on the list, and then the political parties, then the judiciary, then followed by the educational system, public office and civil servants. But from what Manasseh find out, they probably have overtaken the police. If they want to do out a search now, they went out to do a survey now, I'm sure they overtake the police. Then it comes to parliament, then yours truly, the media, medical and health services, business and private sector, military, religious bodies, and then the NGOs at the bottom of the list. The police are top ranking, and I remember they were very much against it. But one thing which I seem to find very unfair on the police is, bribes don't grow on mango trees where you seem to drive and say, oh, that's a bribe. You get out of your car and you pluck it. It's you and I who give the bribe. And probably that's why we know they are number one on the list, because they are the people we bribe the most. But Linda, the giver and the taker are both at fault. Yes. But why is the taker always sort of, if you know what I mean, is always more in trouble than the giver?
Yes, in corruption, as you rightly said, both the giver and the receiver are both corrupt. And when it comes to the statement you just made as to if you should go to the field right now to conduct another survey, the public office and civil service are likely to overtake the police, might not be the case. This is because when it comes to the global corruption barometer, we look beyond perceptions.
Okay.
We actually talk about people's experiences with corruption. And so if people have not had any dealings with JIDA, had it not been for Manasseh, the beneficiary themselves might not even know that such fraud is going on. So their perceptions and their experiences about JIDA and other institutions would have still remained the same. But for the police, as you rightly said, people might be offering many services. People are dealing with them often. So when you pose the question as to have you actually engaged any of these public institutions over a period of 2 years, were you asked to offer something and they have dealt more with a particular institution, they might say yes or no. If you say, did you pay any bribe when you were dealing with the education system? Somebody could say yes or no. If you paid something, how much did you pay? So that is the basis for. So when you talk about global corruption barometer, you just look beyond perception and also talk about experiences. But in most cases, if the giver doesn't come to report, which the giver normally will not report, that I have given a bribe to a public official, that cannot be captured because we didn't set out to capture people's experiences with, maybe if you have given a bribe, did you go and report? Other people will even tell you that even though we have the whistleblower legislation in place, I'm still not secured enough. I don't feel that the law protects me so much that I should go out and tell, oh, this person took this amount of money from me and all that. People don't even want to deal with the institutions mandated to fight corruption. If people perceive the police to be very corrupt, they wouldn't feel confident, and that's not what we are saying. That is what the people are saying, that we don't feel very confident going back to the police to report corruption. And for that matter, normally the giver will not be seen, but the recipient who is supposed to be offering a public service free of charge and take something whilst doing that will be the one that the corruption will be reported about. So
you mentioned something about confidence, which just struck me.
Yes.
Do you know, sometimes if people see anything happening, their first call is a radio station,
yes,
rather than the police.
Yes.
And I've had an incident where there's somebody dead right in front of a police station, but next door to the police station is a radio station. So they walk past the dead body, walk past the police station, and come and report that, can you guys announce that there's a woman, lying dead? And the woman is dead right in front of the police station. So it just...
Yes, it's about people's confidence in the institutions that are mandated to deal with corruption. There was this person who came to our offices to report over invoicing a particular government institution. And then he said he has tried to, even to the level of the presidency, trying to report the matter but still nothing has been done about it. The person then came to our offices, and when we put some grammar on paper, the next moment something was done about the matter. So people are now even, they are not confident to go back to this same institution that they feel that, or they are perceiving them to be engaging in corruption. For instance, if they don't want to go to the police, because sometimes they feel like if you go to the police, you'll be asked to give further information that sometimes you don't even have, because currently we don't have any law in place that empowers you to get information. I mean, the absence of the freedom of information legislation, you don't have. So if I go to the police and I've been a witness or victim of corruption and ask me to provide further information, I may not be able to produce it. In that case, I will not go. But I would like to run to an institution like GI, which offers the ALAC, or any civil society organization that provides that service. The media, because they know you put the message out there, and the next thing you get reactions, because the institutions somehow are very careful when they're dealing with the media. So people are informed by all these things because they see what is happening in the system. They don't have enough confidence in the institutions mandated under the law to deal with corruption.
I think I have Andrew Awini joining us on the line of phone. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Nana. Good evening.
Good evening, my brother. I'm talking about corruption, and you know who else to talk about corruption than you? Because I know you've done a lot of work with Tiger IPI, you know, trying to fight corruption in our dear country. But Andrew, I have a peculiar question for you. You see, we run a system where, you know, you can pick somebody from nowhere. He joins a political party, runs up and down the length and breadth of the country. Come 7th of January, he's then catapulted into fame and fortune. He's only guaranteed 4 years to live a life of Riley, and then he might have to go back to, you know, a life of nobody where he came from. So then this guy has got 4 years to, you know, literally amass some sort of wealth so that when his time runs over, he doesn't go back to grace. And I think that system, you know, might make even the good person go bad. Andrew, I mean, I don't know, you might agree or disagree with me.
Well, you may have a point. Whichever way you look at it, I think there are two sides to it. Yes, the point you are really making is that if we're going to select people to manage the affairs of our nation in government, you want to make sure that you select people who at least have accomplished something. Government is about management. The function itself is a management function. And if we really take governance serious and we look at Ghana, for example, as a corporate entity, I'm sure there will be a criteria. There will be certain qualifications that you'll be looking for when you are employing people to join a corporate entity. And so, yes, I think that maybe we've got to look at the kind of people we bring. It really doesn't make sense when you pick people who really have no experience whatsoever, never really done any work. Some have never really rented their own rooms before. You know, literally just take them off the classroom or from the street or something, and then straight away they are sent to those heights to manage. And then all of a sudden our chiefs and people will have to stand up when such people walk in. For me, I think we need to look at that system, that kind of the system that allows people like that to take positions of honor all of a sudden like that. I guess that if we're going to treat Ghana as a corporate entity, then perhaps we need to have certain criteria for the kind of selection we do. But having said that, as you know, I have been in political office before, and I can tell you that really, if you are selected to join 75 or 80 people to manage the affairs of the nation in government, in the executive, you must consider yourself very fortunate, very privileged. I think these positions themselves are positions of blessing by the very nature of our culture, our cultural lifestyle in Ghana here. People want to be nice to you. People want to to be on the good side of government and government officials. Even when you don't ask, they give. And I can tell you, every minister, if you decide to go on a duty tour, whether you are Minister for Health or Minister for Education, let's take Minister of Education, let her attempt to visit Upper East region. By the time she returns here, I can guarantee you that she'll come with goats and sheep and smokes and all that. These are all gifts. Now, I think that in a position of blessing like that, you've got to thank God and also thank the people for what they do for you. Now, to go the extra mile of trying to steal because you want to guarantee your future, or even the future of your children or family, for me, it's a matter of greed and sometimes mixed with fear for the future. I have a very simple way of looking at it. If money was not the criteria for you being selected into the office, why do you think that your children will need money to have a better life in future? Of course, we all know that you've got to go to school, you've got to have certain basic necessities of life and all that. But your position gives you that. And so that should be okay. But this mixture of greed and of fear for the future, especially when you forget the grace that sent you from a nobody into the executive, then perhaps you are forfeiting something, you are missing something. So yes, there are two ways of looking at it. One, should we pick anybody at all? People who have never, as a young man, when you are growing in Ghana here, there are certain basic things that you must have in the room. Buy some chairs, have your own bed. Even if you're going, you are nobody at all, you wanted to marry, there are certain basic things you should have. Why should we pick up students who just left school? Some haven't even done their national service. And because they are able to run errands for a political party, the next moment we put them in such positions. I don't think we are being fair to our country. But having said that, there's no reason why when you get into government, therefore you should steal anything that comes your way because you are afraid that after 4 years, you will not be able to make it, and therefore you need to. How much can you pile up anyway? So definitely, if you have no acumen for management, if you pile up billions, you eventually squander it and come back to the same point. So there are ways of looking at it, and these are two ways of looking at it, Nana.
Stay on the line for me, Andy. Linda, has it become, is it too late, or there's a way of turning around now? I feel that it's gotten to a point where it's acceptable. It is almost acceptable that, how much are we going to set aside for bribery and corruption? You have to literally add it to your budget. Now, can we turn it around, and how? It's become part of us.
It's possible to turn it around. If you look at other democracies and jurisdictions who are doing very well when it comes to the corruption perception indexes, the global corruption barometer, I can make mention of the Denmarks, the Finland. What do they do that we don't do? Mm-hmm. That's the discussion we should be having. When it comes to corruption, it's about opportunities existing for people to be corrupt. Systems and structures. We have the laws. Anti-corruption agencies, we have plenty of them. When it comes to an enforcement, it becomes a problem. You look at the Financial Administration Act, for instance, there's a section, I think Part 7, that deals with penalties, liabilities, offenses, and all those things. JIDA issue has come up. What are we waiting for? What is all this back and forth? And institutions should be working. In the advanced country, by now, the police would have come into the picture. And I don't know whether in Ghana, their mandate doesn't permit them to do such things. Manasseh has come out with his initial expose on what is happening. What are the institutions mandated to fight corruption doing? We are all waiting for the government, the minister, to set up a committee to investigate his predecessors. And you think that when the minister does that, the findings and recommendations will allow him to punish those people. We are all here, we are watching, but I think this time round, civil society are very much alert, and everybody is interested to see what happens with this particular finding. It's about making sure that the cost of corruption is so expensive that if you engage in corruption and you are caught, under section 239 of the criminal code, it's a criminal offense to engage in corruption. So when you are found guilty, you should be dealt with. That is the political commitment that we are talking about, the will to punish people who engage in corruption. Because the people who are engaged in corruption are bigger than what we normally see on the ground, we think that something is being done, restructuring and all those things. It won't help us. It's about making sure that, you talk about, I think Manasseh mentioned the fact that he said those ministers and have serious questions to answer. But I'm sure some people have been recommended for prosecution. I've not seen the reports yet, but I'm actually following what Joy FM has been, multimedia readers have been talking about. And for that matter, if there are serious problems to be answered, why are we also not recommending that? Because if the finance officer doesn't know his work, he has a supervisor. If the operations and monitoring has broken down, there should be somebody accounting for that. And you cannot say it's only the operations manager or the coordinator. He has a minister. We should be showing commitment in punishing these big fishes. Otherwise, the problem is going to be, we are going to be where we are, always scoring around 4.45, 3.9 on the CPI. Whilst another African country, what's the name of this? Botswana. Scoring 6, 5, going up every now and then, trying to catch up with advanced and the developed countries because it's trying to put in place measures, system, enforcement of the laws. That is the problem we have. If government will show commitment, I keep on talking about government because they have the capacity. As a citizen, listen to me. This morning I was granted an interview to a radio station in Bolgatanga where the people have, some group of people have held a press conference talking about SADA. Beneficiaries of projects are beginning to realize that corruption affects them negatively. In the past, they thought it was, GNI and its partners are making lots of noise in our ears. If we start talking about the negative impact and the seriousness of corruption on people's lives, people will be more committed to do their own. But there is an extent. After I've blown the whistle and nothing is done about it, I get discouraged and go back into my shell. Next time, I will not even report. So if citizens are supposed to be reporting corruption, I've got a global corruption barometer. If you go to Nepal, Azerbaijan, so many other countries, people are feeling the impacts. Sick people are not getting treatment because they are being asked to pay US dollars that they cannot fund until some organizations, people come to their aid, investigate the matter, and TI chapters take the issue up, and they get the medical this thing free. So people are actually one of the countries, I think in Nepal or so, people don't go to the hospitals to go and give birth because it is expensive. Especially young girls are not able to go to. So about 6 people die in a day in the process of giving birth. So the government puts in place a mechanism to support these people, allowance of a sort. In a particular district, health officials, oh my God, are actually creating names of people who are not even pregnant, ghost names, and pocketing the resources.
Wow.
It won't happen in any of these advanced countries. We are not saying that there's no corruption in advanced countries. If you do a corruption perception index on a scale of 0 to 100, and Denmark is scoring 90, African countries are scoring 30. 25, 29. Ghana scored 45. That's the last one. We have done very well if you compare us to other countries within our region. What is making them get where they are that we are not able to get there? Talk about corruption. You talk about corruption. The driver of corruption is poverty. People are poor here. We have different types of corruption. We have the petty and the grand. People who engage in grand corruption are not poor people. The petty people are the people who are collecting the bribes on the street, who are collecting stealing office materials, papers, and selling them. People engaging in grand corruption that has negative, serious impact on the country are not poor people. They are greedy people who have opportunity to engage in corruption. And these are the people we should be tackling because the impact of their corruption has I don't know the word for it. The impact is greater than the petty corruption. Just like petty corruption is the frequency is more. So if you put it all together, but individuals benefiting are not getting so much. 5 cities, 10 cities, 20 cities. And we are always mentioning their names. People are engaging in serious kind of corruption in this country. They are big people, politicians that nobody is able to punish them. They are always going scot-free. Now everyone wants to go into politics. You finish school and next you want to do is because you believe when you go there, you get money. That's one thing I was going to... There's two issues I'm going to look at is the desperation for people to get elected into politics as DCA and as MPs. And the monies in which they spend, is it really that their love for the nation? That's number one. And then number two,
This is the people who steal chickens and goats get more sentences than those who actually steal serious money. We'll come back. Andrew, please stay on the line for me. We'll come back straight after the break. Hello, welcome back. We're talking about corruption reality in Ghana as to how we can even think of reducing it. Talking to me in the studio is Linda Ofori-Kwafu from Ghana Integrity Initiative. And then on the phone is Andrew Awuni, who does a lot of work on corruption. He's also part of the newspaper, The Scandal. If you haven't read Scandal, get it. It comes out every Monday and it will blow your mind. And it's one of the issues why I don't even know why we need the Right to Information Bill, because Andrew's going to give us all this information every Monday. What do we do with the information he brings out? So if indeed we pass the law to say, okay, now the floodgates are open, then what? Let us at least manage what we have now. But Andrew,
yes.
You see, one thing that, with this corruption thing that I want to divert a bit is the amount of monies people spend, i.e. those who want to be MPs, those who want to be DCs, the amount of money they spend. And it is not hidden to become, who they are or who they want to be. I mean, are we really saying that it's for the love of the nation and that they are very, very patriotic, they have something to give? Or there is, some cherries there to be picked, and that's why they are spending these monies? Because other than that, then they are telling us clear that, listen, I'm spending this money, and when I go there, you guys need to pay for it.
Well, yes, I think that in the most part, that is what it is, especially in our part of the world. In other jurisdictions, there are people who have made it in life. They are successful in life. They have gathered enough money. They think what they need now is recognition, the honor to serve their countries at a level that can be a record for future, be a part of the history of their country. Yes, so they now invest their money in making sure that they make that history. Sometimes they come from big families that have big histories behind them and all that. Yeah, so in other jurisdictions, it is about investing in your honor, investing in your legacy, being a piece of the history of your country. So they will pay for it. They will put their money into it. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, it's not exactly the same. Of course, there are a few people, especially at the very top, who have made sufficient money. They have finished raising their children. Their children are no longer in nurseries or JSS or SS or even universities, so they would need to spend money on them. Their children are even holding big appointments with big organizations, so they really don't have much to spend in terms of what they have gathered. So such people can invest in their own honor. They can invest in wanting to serve the public. But the majority of us, honestly speaking, people even go to sell their homes. They sell their cars. They sell all kinds of properties. And then they invest in either being an MP or whatever it is, even assemblymen, assemblywomen. Some even borrow money. They go to the banks to borrow. And anybody who borrows money from the bank and pays interest on it and goes to invest that money in politics, it's clearly telling you that that's an investment that clearly has bigger return than what the bank is taking in terms of interest. So, yes, for a majority of our friends, our colleagues, it is an investment. And so when they get into office, they must reap. How do they reap? And some would just make it very clear to you. It's unfortunate, but that is the truth of the matter. It's very, very unfortunate, but that's the truth of the matter. MPs have all kinds of funds that at a certain point, I was told that MPs said they will not say anything against HIV/AIDS unless they are giving part of the fund HIV. There was a fund from the Ghana AIDS Commission, they must be given something before they can mount platforms and speak against AIDS. They have something they take from Get Fund, they have something they take from HIPAID, they have something they take, of course, the Common Fund. And funny enough, there's very little accountability. Very, very little accountability. And Ghanaians don't really ask any questions at all. You find some of them building schools for their constituencies, others buy pito for their constituencies. And they claim they pay school fees and all that. So for majority of our people, it is an investment, and they must reap. They must have returns on that investment. In fact, so right from the foundation, there's no righteousness there. It is completely rotten, and it appears that is what is going on. After a while, maybe when they are finished reaping, then they may look at their constituents and have pity on them. And
thank you, Andrew. Let me come to the studio. You see, Linda, with all the hard work you're doing, all the hard work Andrew is doing, not many of us are demanding that accountability, though. So they are left to do what they are doing, because I am sure all these guys recommended, if it turns out that, oh, he belongs to this party, you see, when he's dragged to court, you see the members of his party at the court demanding that set him free. And these are the same people who would have needed that money for their health, for their education, for their road, and for whatever social amenities there is. But there's not a lot of us demanding accountability.
Yes, I think I said that earlier on. It's only when people see the negative impacts on corruption on them, that's when they take the matter seriously. So now people are beginning to demand accountability, but sometimes the mechanism is not even there for them to demand accountability. All that they can do is to hold press conferences and just sack the executive director of SADA, ask the board chairman to go on leave and all those things. These are the only things they can do. But as I said earlier on, even as beneficiaries start doing these things, the government can play a role. Luckily for us in this country, if we want to fight corruption, we need a program of action. And we have developed a 10-year action plan. It was the Commission for Human Rights Administrative that did that, together with other civil society organizations, including Ghana Integrity Initiative, the CDD, GACC, and other state institutions who are mandated to fight corruption. So Yoko and the rest were part in developing those documents. It has been submitted to the executive. For it, actually, we need approval for it to become a national document. And when you take those documents, you realize that it is looking at broad coalition in the fight against corruption. So citizens will have a role to play. Institutions will play a role. You and I will play a role. I'll come and sit here, talk about it, and all those things. People will be educated on international conventions on corruption and all those things. So then, if government does not show commitment in actually approving such a document, where are we going from? We can just be in the north and call for all those things we are calling for. We can actually, Manasseh can bring up the issue and the beneficiaries of SADA become sad and they say, hey, so they are chopping our money and all. They can do all those things. But if the person that has the responsibility to fight corruption is not showing much commitment, we are going to remain where we are. So I think that's when people become actually, they know the impact on their lives, on their health, on their education, and all those things. They will be able to play a key role in, and that's all that a citizen is supposed to do, is to report corruption. Take the first step if you have become a witness, a victim, to under the whistleblower legislation, which was passed in 2006, to report corruption to the right institutions, and we expect them to take action. If they don't, you can come to some of these civil society organizations like us, and we are going to follow up on the matter for you.
I'm not going to report it if I'm not wearing my seat. I mean, let's go to a smaller scale. I'm not wearing a seat belt, and then I get stopped. I'm on my way to come and do a show. No, I have 5 CDs in the ashtray. So what, do I follow this woman to the police, airport police station, stay there for 2 hours, miss my show? I know she'll take the 5 CDs, and I'm not going to go and report it, because then I'm also in trouble. And so it's just, we are all equally guilty, and then it just grows from there.
Sometimes you wouldn't mind going to report. You wouldn't mind spending some few minutes following the police to the right place. Sometimes you're not even given opportunity to make a step to follow them. The moment you are stopped, then the next thing is that there will be contacts, those kind of things. So it's a big problem. It's the culture of the people. We are used to saying, oh, it doesn't really matter. It just took 5 cities. Let me go and all. People actually at a point when they did some of these surveys realized that Ghanaians are unconcerned. They are not bothered. Oh, when it comes to corruption, it's the politicians who are corrupt. They don't even think about the schools being corrupt, teachers being corrupt. It's only when they are taking their children to school and they are being asked to put something in the envelope for them, that's when they become concerned about corruption. We have, I made mention earlier on of the Global Corruption, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which is trying to solve a global problem with a global solution. And we say it's one of the best conventions because it is global in nature and also has a preventive section and a criminalization section. Currently, Ghana is being reviewed in the implementation of the UNCAC. And when it comes to light with the findings, maybe we'll get to know whether some of these reports that are coming out are true or wrong. Realize how well are we doing? Yeah, you're still talking about perception, and it's not doing well. And people are like, you people are always talking about what we are not doing well. The documents or this thing is going to come out with how well government is doing in the implementation of the things that we ourselves have signed on to. Criminalization of corruption, international cooperation, assets recovery, all these things are being reviewed. That's is not part of the current review. But criminalization, chapter 3 and chapter 4, is being reviewed. And we have other countries coming in here to do a peer review of us. So that it come to light whether Ghana, Integrity and its partners are lying or not.
Well, thank you very much, Linda. Thank you very much, Andrew. I don't have Andrew on the phone anyway. Andrew was on the phone. Joining was Andrew Awini, and I have Linda Ofori-Kwafo from Ghana Integrity Initiative joining us in the studio talking about corruption in Ghana. I'm sure this issue we'll talk about it about 10 times before the end of the year, but that's what we can do. We have to just keep it in the limelight until something gets done. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Nana Sakwa, and tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again.